Welcome to your Daily 5 for Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. For our weekly Watch Together film selection series or whatever, I came up with something that I thought would be a good approach going forward. I basically took a list of, I think, 14 or 15 movies, and I put them into one of these random wheel spinners so that we could just have a random selection every time and not worry about trying to figure out what movie we might want to watch or might not. And so for this week, one of the movies I put on the dial is one that I really knew almost nothing about, but I'd largely put aside to watch because it sounded like it could be potentially really interesting or a complete dumpster fire. And that is 1972's Frankenstein 80. So Frankenstein space apostrophe 80. An Italian horror film, I think would be the technically correct way to describe it, or crime procedural maybe, where the movie is attempting to do an updated version of the classic Frankenstein tale in its most bare bones form. Now, I'm not going to spoil everything because Lando and I will have lots to say about this movie, but in essence, it sets it in, it's called Frankenstein 80, although I don't know that we ever actually see the year. It is an absolutely top-to-bottom Italian production, and it concerns a scientist who's really more of a doctor of some kind, named Otto Frankenstein, who has created some kind of partially pieced-together human being. I don't know how else to describe it, because it's not the classic Frankenstein model where I don't think he is harvesting cadavers and putting together a new body. That was not my impression. Nor was it Lando's, from what I know, but we'll talk about it on the Friday show. Instead, he is replacing certain components and attempting to solve a tissue rejection problem, which is an interesting angle to take for the movie. And his creature is called Mosaic. That's what he names it, which is, of course, kind of a thing that's put together from different pieces. Like the naming is interesting. And it's set, again, in what appears to be, it's 1970s Italy. Although all the newspapers, for some reason, are in German, which is something on the commentary you'll hear me note that I'm like, why are the newspapers in German? I know that the doctor appears to be German, but other people are getting German newspapers, so I don't know what that's all about, because this is absolutely an Italian production. But it is the specific decisions that are made in this movie that make it compelling to watch. Now, I don't know whether most people would get a better time out of watching it with somebody else as kind of a movie to have a couple drinks and watch and marvel at, or if you'd be like me, where I'm pretty sure if I watched this alone, I would still be fascinated by it, because I think it is trying to do some interesting things. I don't know that it's always successful at them, but it does appear to be trying to make a commentary on the fact that the monster, or Mosaic, has monstrous actions, but that Mosaic himself, or itself, depending on how you classify a constructed creature, is not inherently evil. But the movie really does consist of the monster doing things that are not great. And so I think they lost the attempt to make the morality a little bit gray. And a lot of people will describe this as just, it's a creature going around murdering women. Well, the creature murders men and women, to be fair about it. There is a good amount of that in it. I cannot deny it. And I think that it is not the most elegantly told narrative, but I think it's an interesting movie. I think it tries to do some things differently. There's some really just unique, interesting use of color where you will see an entire room or even a person dressed in drab gray fabrics, but then one specific element is in super vibrant color. For example, our lead at one point is dressed in basically beiges and browns, head to toe, but has these piercing blue eyes, so you're drawn to them immediately. Or there's another scene where there's people in a room, and one of the character I think we're meant to be paying the most attention to is the only one dressed in a really striking color that makes her pop off of everything else. And so that's where the movie really is compelling to watch. It does hold your interest. There are filler scenes, absolutely, especially towards the end, but I would never say it was boring. And it is at least trying to do something new with a concept that at this point, everybody knows the fundamentals of. So it's in public domain, so you can watch this thing everywhere. Again, its title is Frankenstein 80, and I would actually say it's probably worth watching. Later.